all about the processes within nature is really important in being able to understand our world, but it's not the only important thing. Simply existing within nature and taking a minute to just sit and watch what's going on around you is equally as important. In this video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different and talking you through some clips of the natural world in the UK, as if you're actually experiencing them. Subscribe to Ferroforest to keep learning about UK nature. Taking a moment to appreciate nature has great benefits to your health. Many studies have found a link between nature, physical and mental health. For example, a study of almost 20,000 people found that those who spend at least a combined 2 hours a week in green spaces were significantly more likely to report that they were feeling in good health or that they felt they had a high well-being. This included elderly people and people who had longer-term health issues. Meanwhile, another study found that psychiatric patients who used gardens were more likely to feel calm, have improved moods, have more social behaviours, and felt a reduced sense of isolation that came from having a shared purpose within their community. Walk with me down this track, a sight so common that we could be walking almost anywhere in the UK. Beneath your feet is a path of dirt, worn away by thousands of feet over thousands of hours. Day in, day out, year in, year out, this track is used by your neighbours taking shortcuts to the shops, by dog walkers exercising their pets, and by families introducing their children to their local surroundings. Do you feel at home in nature enough to walk the path without shoes on? What do you feel? Perhaps you noticed the crumble of the soft dirt as you stepped, a sign that rain hasn't fallen for a few days. Walking on the narrow parts, can you feel the tickle of short blades of grass against your skin? The lush green is a sign that the plants have been taking in plenty of sunlight to help them grow. As you pass over the track worn down by a collective community, feel the sense of belonging and know that your feet are treading the path that generations before you have walked. This may be what you see, but what are you not seeing? Look at the hedges on either side of you. When you're not here, which animals might be making use of them? Maybe you're walking past a rabbit warren that has many entrance holes hidden beneath the thick vegetation at the base of the hedge. A hungry vixen, looking for a meal to feed herself and her kits, is waiting for dusk, when she will stalk down the same path you're walking on in search of these rabbits. How do you think things would change if you were walking down here at night? Can you picture which animals would pass through here unseen? What would you hear? Maybe the hedge would rustle as a pair of badger cubs emerge, jumping over each other in play. Their mother follows them, on the lookout for a range of insects, rodents, and seeds to eat. These badgers have lived in their nearby set for many years, their ancestors foraging on the same path that your ancestors walked along. More life goes on around them, although you can only hear some of it. Up above, following the shelter of the hedgerow, various bat species swoop and dive as they hunt for flying insects. They send out calls to each other and into the environment as they socialise and hunt. If you listen really carefully, you may be able to hear a couple of species, like soprano pipistrelles and noctules, but most bat calls at a frequency that is far too high for humans to hear, so you'll have more luck looking for them as their shadows swoop across the skyline. Country paths aren't the only place we can walk through and just appreciate existing within nature. Rivers and canals snake their way through the UK, often accompanied on the side by dirt tracks worn down by people walking. In more populated areas, these dirt tracks might have been replaced by concrete, which, while not being as friendly to nature, does make natural spaces more accessible for greater numbers of people. Passing by a river like this, pause for a moment and make use of your different senses. Take a deep breath in, wait a moment, and then breathe out. What could you smell? This river is known as a tidal river. It is so close to where it drains out into the ocean that its water level is influenced by the tides, rising and shrinking throughout the day. Being so close to the ocean, you can smell the salt in the air as a fresh breeze passes by. Listen to the sounds around you. Can you hear the water lapping at the banks? Can you hear the ducks and swans calling out? Think about what those sounds mean. Can you hear the grunting sounds from the swans? These birds are relaxed and foraging. Maybe you can hear younger swans making whistling sounds, begging their parents to pull up underwater plants to help them feed. If you get too close to one of these swans and it feels like you're a threat, you may even hear it hissing at you. This is a clear warning sign to back off, because swans aren't afraid to attack someone who ignores their warning. Watch as the swans swim away and think about the water it's swimming in. Where did it come from? Water on Earth is part of a global process known as the hydrologic cycle, or the water cycle, an ever-moving flow of water between locations, cycling through solid, liquid and gaseous states. Water evaporates from liquid into gas in one location and moves through the atmosphere until it cools down enough to pour down as liquid rain again. It changes into solid ice, snow and hail if the weather is cold enough, stays as liquid water, or might evaporate again. This process means that all water on Earth is linked, with an individual water particle having the potential to move vast distances. How did the water you are looking at get into this river? Perhaps over winter the snow much further upstream melted and the water ran through gaps in the soil until it ended up in a river, which carried it down to the point you're standing at now. Maybe it evaporated from a lake somewhere many miles away and was carried in the air as clouds until it came down with last night's rainfall. As you're walking, you should always remember to look up. There's plenty to see up above as a variety of birds and insects fly past. Take notice of the clouds carrying water from one location until it rains down somewhere else. How long do you think those clouds have been travelling? Where do you think the rain will come down? A little closer to you, have a look at the birds up above. What species can you see flying over you? You might be able to see some common garden birds in the UK, such as blackbirds, starlings and pigeons. You might spot some of our larger birds looking to hunt these species, such as kestrels and buzzards. If you live in an area with plenty of ponds and lakes, you might see grey herons passing overhead. And if you live close to the sea, you might spot cormorants. Often, many of our bird species will gather together in large flocks. You will usually hear this before you see it, as the birds in the flock all communicate with each other. Where do you think they all came from? How do you think they're related? Why are they flocking together? How do they fly together without crashing into each other? Maybe you have other questions that come into your head as you look at them. Birds, like many groups of animals, often come together to reduce the chances of a predator catching them. The movement of so many individuals at the same time makes it difficult for a predator to choose a target. And if a predator does move in, then instead of taking off, the prey can group together to attack it and chase it off instead. Sometimes birds will group together to share information about food sources, sharing out resources so that none of them will go hungry. Maybe some of these birds are from this year's eggs, having grown out of the nest and joined other family units so that they can all make the migration south to avoid the cold of winter together. Perhaps instead of leaving, they're a species that stays in the UK over winter, and they've all flocked together to share their warmth during the harsh winter months. How did you feel watching some videos of our natural world? Maybe the next time you're out on a walk, you can take a moment to stop at the edge of a forest or looking out over a pond and just appreciate being there within the nature. Take a deep breath and see what you can smell in the air. Listen out and see if you can understand what you're actually hearing. There's so much more to nature than just learning about what's in it. Going out there and taking a moment to just appreciate being within it and feel like you're a part of it can really help to put that learning into context. If you want to learn about more UK wildlife before you go on your next walk, make sure you check out some of my other videos to help you.